Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast. I'm Ellie Young, alcohol-free life coach, mom, and athlete. I'm dedicated to helping others change their relationship to alcohol by sharing my journey of transformation. Fascinated by my own capacity for change after decades of gray area drinking, I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned from neuroscience and positive psychology to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your true potential. Hear my personal stories of triumph and struggle as I navigate raising two boys, finding myself after 40, building a business, and doing it all alcohol free. From women's health and cycle syncing to fasting and biohacking, this podcast is your roadmap to a healthier, purpose-filled life that starts with changing your relationship to alcohol. It's time to embrace change, find balance, and create the life you were meant for. Welcome to Find Myself Free. Now, the holidays can be a whirlwind of too much drinking, overeating, sugar overload, late nights, and stress. And by the time January rolls around, you might be feeling bloated, fatigued, anxious, and down in the dumps. The combination of all that indulgence takes a toll on your body, especially your hormones, and it can leave you feeling drained and out of balance. But the new year is the perfect time to hit the reset button. Now, imagine waking up refreshed and clear-headed without the fog of regret or exhaustion weighing you down. You feel light in your body, free from bloating, and your mind is sharp and focused. You're no longer white-knuckling it through cravings. Alcohol doesn't hold power over you anymore. You know exactly what your body needs to feel balanced and calm, and your hormones are finally working with you, not against you. No more mystery PMS, surprise mood swings, or random energy crashes. You're in tune, in control, and full of gratitude for how far you've come. Your body feels nourished, your spirit feels peaceful, and your confidence is soaring because you know you did this and you're never looking back. This could be you. I am so excited to announce Nourish and Flourish, my New Year's program that is a game changer for women ready to hit the reset button and transform their health. Let's face it, trying to stop drinking, balance your hormones, and feel your best while juggling life can feel overwhelming. Alcohol is a sneaky crutch that affects your hormones, energy, and mood. You might be struggling with stress, weight gain, fatigue, and disrupted sleep, and not even realize alcohol could be part of the problem. The good news, with the right mindset shifts and detox strategies, you can break free, reset your body, and restore balance. My new program, Nourish and Flourish, is designed to help you first detox the holidays, reframe your relationship with alcohol, and balance your hormones. They are all tied together. And when you get there, you can take back control of your mental and physical health so you can lose weight, feel energized, be clear-headed, and ready to take on what's next. It's time to start the year feeling your best. Let's reset, recharge, and thrive together. Head over to my show notes and click the link to join Nourish and Flourish, where you will get my early bird discount rate. The program will run January 6th through the 31st, and I've never done this before, but you will get access to both of my signature courses, Brave and Balance, when you sign up for Nourish and Flourish. This comprehensive program is a game changer to help you detox, ditch alcohol, and get your hormones balanced. This is your year. I hope you join me. Hi, everybody. Today's guest is a really good one. Let me introduce Justin Nault. He is the founder of Clovis, dedicated to helping people break free from diet culture, fitness myths, and the broken medical system. His mission is to empower others to heal their metabolisms and reclaim their health through nourishment, self-acceptance, and holistic well-being. With over 650,000 followers and a thriving 12,000-member Clovis community, Justin is leading a revolution in health, showing people that true freedom comes from living authentically and rejecting toxic trends. You are going to love this conversation. And now let's get on to the show. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. Today's guest is a good one. I think you guys are all going to love his message and what he's all about. So I would Introducing you to Justin Nault, founder of Clovis. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out. I am really inspired by your journey and your story, and I think everybody is going to really relate to it. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey, so I try to truncate it the best I can. But I think like a lot of people, I grew up an overweight kid, right? It was the 90s, so we called them fat kids back then. And that's basically led to tremendous body dysmorphia. It was like I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger and knew that I didn't look like him. So my self-worth was kind of being eroded without at that age. I'm completely unaware of that, right? At 38, I look back and I know what was going on then. So my dad, for some reason, didn't let me lift weights till I was 15. He thought that would stunt my growth. And then age 15, day one came and I was lifting weights 2 hours a day and just like punishing my body as much as I could to try to get the weight off. And that led to just like an overall obsession with fitness. And then I became a professional musician. So I went to music school in Boston, and then that was also where I became a boxer. And then I went down to Nashville, where my music career began. I had a degree in songwriting. And the next thing I knew, I was doing over 300 shows a year at one of the most popular locations in Nashville, playing piano and singing. So my appearance was literally now under a spotlight. So anything that I had going on in my teenage brain was actually much worse in my 20s, which led to like really masochistic training, twice a day CrossFit, very low calorie diet, low carb, zero carb, everything. I landed a reality TV show called The Big Time on ABC when I was 25. So again, it just the cycle kept getting worse, right?
Yeah.
And I found myself kind of in my around 26, 27, like working out, training more than anybody that I knew, doing really just astounding things with my body, right? I was deadlifting like 425 pounds. It was just like, I just could not, I was obsessed with it. And then I got
Yeah.
into jujitsu, trained jujitsu for 5 years, became a purple belt, all these things. But my body fat was still probably like 25%. I just never looked the way I wanted to, always felt insecure about my appearance. So I started looking into nutrition, started taking nutrition more seriously. And I found the paleo diet through a documentary film called In Search of the Perfect Human Diet
Mm.
by CJ Hunt, who's now a good friend of mine. And body fat started dropping off. My first paleo reset, I was like, this is a cheat code. Like, where has this been my whole life? This is astounding, you know?
Yeah.
And as that body fat's dropping, I became so obsessed and I'd had some success in the music industry at this point. So my days were my own. I had a lot of free time during the day. So I became a nutritional therapist. I was like, I'm going to try to figure this out for myself and started playing with different supplements and different types of dieting. And then my niece was born around that same time. She was born terminally disabled. She was having over 300 seizures a day. So she was put
Wow.
straight into the pediatric ICU and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And that was my first introduction to the ketogenic diet. So in mainstream medicine, the ketogenic diet exists as a therapeutic treatment for epileptic seizures. And anytime they think a baby is epileptic, Savannah did not turn out to be epileptic, but they'd run over $1 million in testing. There was no diagnosis. They put a G
Wow.
tube, they drilled a hole in her stomach, and she was being fed through a G tube. So they started giving her this ketogenic baby formula called Keto Cal. This is made by Gerber, who's owned by Nestle, and it's
Yeah.
licensed. It's subsidized by our tax dollars in every pediatric ICU. And they started pumping this into her stomach. And I knew just enough about nutrition to be annoying to doctors. So I
Yeah.
I checked the ingredients myself, and it was high fat, low carb for sure, but it was hydrogenated vegetable oils and
Right.
artificial flavors and sweeteners. And like, why do you have a sweetener? It's not touching taste buds. It's going in a G
Mhm.
tube. And I brought that to the attention of a very like a world renowned neurologist in a very famous hospital, and he looked at me and he said, "Huh, I never thought to check that."
Wow.
And I think he was a good guy. He was trying to help us. He was doing the best he could. He just didn't, it was standard of care. He's giving the
Right.
standard of care. And that was my cliche red pill matrix moment. I was like,
Yeah.
this is insane. Nobody's coming to save us. And I
Right.
started studying human metabolism, biology, biochemistry. I was toying with a nutritional supplement company at the time because I read the 4 Hour Work Week and actually ended up making a paleo superfood powder in my kitchen with food dehydrators and food processors that we
Wow.
cleared with that same neurologist to feed to Savannah through her G tube.
Wow.
So now she was at least getting nutrient dense whole foods. She didn't turn out to be epileptic, so keto did not work for her, unfortunately. But I actually, I was doing a lot of CrossFit at the time, so I added a bunch of collagen protein to that formula and worked with a research and development company to make it shelf stable. And that became my first ever nutritional supplement on Amazon. And then I started doing Facebook Lives and telling people what I had discovered of like, hey, pretty much everything that we've been taught about nutrition is wrong. There's a lot of corruption between big food, big pharma, insurance companies, the government. And I just started sharing and I started a Facebook group. And here we are. It's 8 years later, 650,000 followers. And that Facebook group has about 12,000 people in it. And we have thousands of transformation stories.
That's an incredible story, and you articulate it really, really well. There's so many points in here I want to touch on. One, first and foremost, I don't get to interview a lot of guys who have similar struggles with not only the weight gain, but just the identity crisis that we experience trying to be something that we're not. We
Yeah.
kind of think that's only something women go through, and that, it's really like this body dysmorphia, the eating disorders and stuff. But the drive to be something we are not, especially if you're a highly successful, highly driven person, and it gets extreme to that level without success, right? I can relate to that so much. I've been an athlete my entire life. I played Division I college soccer. I have
Oh.
never looked like what I expected a Division I soccer player to look like. Like, I thought I should have been ripped. The amount of training I did, everything I knew about fitness and health, I could never achieve what I thought mentally I was supposed to look like, right? But I was held back with so many, everything you said there, everything in the medical world, everything in the nutrition world that I just wasn't grasping. I was really just trying to eat low carbohydrate, eating all the bad sucraloses, the sugar
Mm,
substitutes, the low
yeah.
fat, everything. We were raised when all of that stuff was coming out, and it was just trickery, and none of it was real. And I am horrified to think my son was born with what they called a dairy allergy, and he was like projectile vomiting all over the place. And they said he was allergic to me. They said he was allergic to dairy protein. So they put him on some crazy expensive formula. And when I look back at that now, same thing. It has hydrogenated oils in it. I'm like, how was I putting this in my baby's body? The trauma alone from not being able to breastfeed him was just like in all the shame regarding that. And then being like, and now I'm putting the most artificial thing in his body. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So wow, there's just so much here. So where do you start with people, like, understanding just how bad our food industry is, and that when we go to the doctor, that they're not necessarily going to be able to point us in the right direction, that mostly they're going to be putting us. So what is step one for people, the bottom rung on that ladder for kind of getting out from under this?
Yeah, I mean, step one in all of my programs, step one is self-love, believe it or not. So we kind of shift, I think the best coaches are just teaching things that changed their lives and benefited them. And my journey is really ultimately a journey of self-love because everything I thought I was doing, getting healthy to me for my whole life sucked. It was
Yeah.
super hard work and suffering and sacrifice. And I don't care how I feel today. Don't be a chicken shit. Get in the gym. You know what I mean? Like it was like no matter what, I just constantly suppress my
Yeah.
body and do what I thought I needed to do. And it took me until my early 30s and therapy and working with shamans and somatic practitioners and all this stuff to realize that I was doing that from a place of self-loathing. So I start with self-love first. And to go back to what you said about my career, I have a very interesting take on this because I had disordered eating and body dysmorphia. Like you said, never felt ripped enough. I remember I was 9% body fat. And I look back at those pictures, I'm like, man, I looked amazing. And at the time, I thought I was chubby. Like my
Mm.
brain was never going to think it was good enough, no matter
Right.
what, until I could shift the internal state. And most men have never been put in a situation that I have been in where I am the sex symbol.
Yeah.
So it's like I had this weird mind shift where like I am the hot girl in the room.
Yeah.
So I think that, organically my audience is 85% women. And I don't run paid traffic or anything. That just organically happened because I think I can empathize a bit with not nearly what you women go through. I mean, you're hypersexualized from the time you're children. It's astonishing. It's just you're never good enough. It's always more makeup. It's always be skinnier, always behave differently. It's like I really consider myself kind of like a crusader for this because it pisses me off so much.
Mhm.
So self-love is always step one, but to your point about corruption and everything, I just give people education, right? And I get a lot of hate online for saying food versus poison, like steak, food, Pop-Tarts, poison, banana,
Yeah.
food, Doritos, poison. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And I have to start there. And oftentimes I go back and I tell stories. Like the reason why seed oils are rampant in our food environment today is because Procter and Gamble started selling an industrial waste product that was cottonseed oil in a product called Crisco, and they needed to convince people to buy it. The
Yeah.
American Heart Association was a tiny little organization with no funding at the time. So Procter and Gamble paid them $1 million, the equivalent of $21 million today, and
Wow.
put them on the map and funded all of this science saying that animal fats were bad and these polyunsaturated fats and these seed oils were good. So Crisco became healthy and doctors started recommending it. And then
Wow.
further down the line in the 80s, the food companies, Philip Morris, got slapped with a lawsuit and government regulation that said you now have to, one, tell people that cigarettes cause cancer, and two, you can no longer market to children. So Philip Morris said this is bad for profit, and they bought 80% of food companies.
Yeah.
And they hired food engineers to make hyper palatable foods that were as addicting as possible. So it doesn't take a lot of educating and just telling people, guys, this is a 60-second Google search away. None of this is hidden information. And when
Right.
you realize that, all of a sudden you see when we were, like you said, when we were kids growing up in the 90s, Tony the Tiger, Toucan Sam, right? The Rice Krispies elves, all these cute little cartoon characters to
Yeah.
sell hyper palatable poison to children.
Yep.
And that's how we got here. So the concept of food versus poison, I can usually get a light bulb moment to go off in someone's head. Or I'll say, you could go hiking through the wilderness every day for the next 100 years and you will never stumble upon a bagel tree.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we just try to simplify it. Take away the noise of how many net carbs and how many calories per day and calories in, calories out and all this stuff. It's like, are you putting food that's designed to go in your body into your body, or are you putting something else in your body that's not supposed to be there?
Yeah. Wow, I can really relate. I love that you start with self-love. Most of my clients are coming to me initially to change their relationship to alcohol. And what we really get to the root of is it's not about shame, it's not about addiction. It's truly about you were giving alcohol the job of taking care of you. You're stressed, you're uncomfortable, you're anxious, you're disappointed in life, all of the discomforts of life, and you're like, what's going to help me feel better? Alcohol. And it doesn't again, my message is that most women aren't quote unquote alcoholics or addicted, but this self-medicating, this coping mechanism that they've developed is intensely strong. And we have to kind of start once they remove alcohol and they start getting really raw to all of the stuff that they've been numbing, we recognize like you just need to take care of yourself. You just need to start with some practices of self-care. And I know that's like a trendy word right now, but it really is coming from a place of like, what do you really need right now? And a lot of
Mm,
times it's like to say no, to do less, to like lean into like what do I need? And a lot of the women I work with have come, and I think that's why your message is going to resonate so well, are kind of through the young baby years and they're
mm,
into that next phase of life where they have a little more autonomy, a little more independence, and they're like coming out from under that like self-sacrificial role where they're like, it's everything for the kids. I've given my body to my children, I've given all of my hours and all of my time to my kids, and now it's like, oh, this is the decade to get back to myself. And it ha-
yeah.
and unfortunately, becomes a time where they lean more on the wine as their
Hmm.
hormones get a little wonky and their mental health starts to go south. And they're like, and so it's just this perfect intersection of life where they're like, you have to cut the alcohol and learn self-love, self-care.
Yeah.
So do you like when you're working with women, what is kind of one of your initial mindset strategies that is kind of like at your core philosophy?
Yeah, when it comes to the numbing, there's alcohol that's a numbing agent. There is ultra processed food that's a numbing agent. And we can talk about how that's actually decreasing stress hormones in the body. The body wants that. It's a fast way to drop stress hormones, which is why it feels so addicting. And then we can talk about my situation, right? Like, I mean, I was drunk 6 nights a week as a musician. So there was a lot of alcohol happening, but also I was using exercise and biohacking as an avoidance pattern.
Hmm.
It's like if I can just figure out now it's keto, then I did a year straight of strict carnivore, red meat, eggs, water, salt for a year. It's
Wow.
like if I can have something that I'm locked in on and I can control, it's a control mechanism. I now feel in control. Then I can avoid all the other things that feel outside of my control. The self-love stuff or the fact that I couldn't hold good romantic relationships and I didn't feel like I had a sense of community or whatever, right? So we have to get to a place where we feel worthy of having the things that we really want. One of my most apparently is controversial, one of my most controversial opinions is that one of the number one reasons for the obesity epidemic is that people are not living a life that is aligned with who they want to be.
Right.
So as long as you're out of alignment, you're going to have to numb, right? So
Right.
it's like if the very best part of your day is you're driving home in rush hour traffic and you're coming from a job that you hate, that you're spending 40 hours a week at, and you're super stressed, and you pull into the Wendy's drive-through and that first bite of chocolate frosty, if that's the very best part of your day,
Yeah.
it's going to be very hard for me to compete with that as your nutritional therapist, which
Hmm.
means we're going to have to look holistically at the whole thing. How did we get here? And
Yep.
it's always a matter of what did we say yes to that was out of alignment, right? Like if you look
Hmm.
down at your plate, everything on your plate is there because you said yes to it in
Right.
terms of the lifestyle that you can control, your job, things like that, right?
Right.
So it's like if we look at life through the lens of abundance, like an all you can eat buffet, then let's just scrape off what's there and go get a new plate and, and take something else, you know? But we have to
Yeah.
believe that we're worthy of it. So the very first thing I have women do is stand in a mirror, look themselves in the eyes and say, I love you 10 times and try to mean it as
Yeah.
much as you can. And I don't care if it's fake it till you make it. And the reports I get back are astonishing, right? The
Yeah.
first time women do this, they burst into tears. Some of them find that their face gets very red and they're super embarrassed.
Yeah.
And then I have to explain to them, like, okay, you're in a bathroom alone. There's nobody else around. You're
Hmm.
feeling shame and embarrassment saying, I love you to yourself, which means the only person who is embarrassed by this is you. And it's
Yeah.
your own opinion that is embarrassing you. So you have this whole sort of mindset shift that happens of like, why do I feel this way? And that's the deeper stuff that we have to get to. So everyone gets a daily non-negotiable of doing what I call daily mirror work.
Wow. Yeah, I've tried mantras for myself in the past. I love like really inspirational ones, but the ones that are really self-directed, I do struggle a little bit with, and it is like an embarrassing factor. And I think it stems from this idea of like, I don't believe it. There's certain, and I have my history is so similar to yours with the way that I've pushed myself athletically, the way that I've pushed myself nutritionally, physical fitness after the fact, after college. I competed with myself fitness wise. I was always doing more. It was never enough. Um, and I can totally relate to that disconnect between like, I don't feel good, but I'm going to force myself to exercise because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel worthy if I wasn't killing myself
Yeah.
physically or
Yeah.
nutritionally with the pushing myself with the diet. And so as I've matured and I've learned more about loving myself and that rest is okay, especially hormonally, especially when I know that's what my hormones need. I still struggle with worthiness resting. And
Yeah.
like that, and in this perimenopausal phase, as I would say, thickened a little bit, and it's been a challenge for me. And so I'm like, I struggle with that. I struggle with loving myself, even though I'm trying all the different things. And I
Mm.
fear that like sometimes this, if I don't believe it, this idea of toxic positivity, right? Because I talk to my clients a lot about this because I'm like, when you believe, when you change that core belief, that's when it works subconsciously on you, almost like placebo effect, right? Because that's
Yep.
when all the neurochemistry starts to flow and starts to open doors in your mind about like, hey, this is a possibility and I can actually make this happen. But
Yeah.
if there is a disconnect between what you're trying to tell yourself about what you believe is possible, then it doesn't work. It almost like self-sabotages you. Do you find that at all with some of your clients?
100%. Yeah. And I mean, with self, right? It's now the last few years, I think, are a time when I'm actually capable. Like I can step outside, I can take the lid off my cold plunge, and I can look at the cold plunge and I can check in with my body and I can go, this is not for me today. Maybe I'm feeling a little too stressed, put the lid back on, go inside. There is no chance for the first 36 years of my life that I could have done this. I don't
Yeah.
care if I had the flu. I'm like, I'm in the cold plunge. I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care what my body wants. I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the place that we need to get to is like most women are in a situation where they actually can't trust their body right now. You
Hmm.
know, they're so disconnected from their body, and there have been so many self-medicating techniques and so much dissociation, right? Like if you're going to a place that you hate 40 hours a week, you're dissociating 100%.
Hmm.
If you need wine at night every night to go to sleep, you're dissociating. If you can't
Hmm.
fall asleep without having, true crime, murder mysteries on your TV, whatever, like you're dissociating. We're actually training ourselves to be separate from our bodies. So the act of getting back into the body can be very, very difficult. And one of the fastest ways to do this and start to build up that self-worth is to change your opinion of self. So this is actually something that I do with every single private client. I'll just share it with you here. It's a meditation called the 40 slides meditation. And I have women or men sit and close their eyes. And all I want you to do is visualize 40 different moments in your life where you were extremely proud of yourself. And once you have that vision in your mind, just say, I love you out loud. And I give this very simple meditation for a reason. And I'll just reveal the secret here. Why not?
Mhm.
So they come back to me after the first session. Justin, I sat there for 30 minutes and I got 3 things. How the hell am I going to come up with 40 things that I'm proud of myself for?
Yeah.
And the mind is playing tricks on itself because they'll say it was when I, won the game-winning goal in my Division I soccer championship. It's
Mhm.
when I graduated college. It's when I got married. It's when I had my baby, right? They're
Right.
looking for these massive things. And then I tell them, listen, I can come up with 40 reasons I was proud of myself in the last 72 hours. And I can say I love myself 40 times. And I can do this whole visualization in 3 minutes
Mhm.
because I've trained myself to look for the good in my life.
Yeah.
It's like when you held the door open for the old lady behind you walking into the bank. When you
Yeah.
told your kids that you loved them on their way out the door and you didn't let them leave the house without a hug. You say, Mommy loves you so much. I'll see you when you get home. When
Yeah.
you got on a call with me, you say, I think I'm going to talk to this coach and maybe think about improving my life. Or I listened to a podcast, right? Or I drank a little extra water today. Or after lunch, I went for a 10-minute walk. Or when my husband came home, I gave him a greeting, or my partner, whoever, and I said, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for all that you do for me, right? It's these tiny little moments. They're everywhere. They're littered all throughout your day. And if we can shift that mindset where all of a sudden you're feeling pride in self more and more throughout the day, it's like purple Jeep theory, right? You never see a purple Jeep
Yes.
till you buy one and then you see them everywhere. So we're
Yes.
just training the mind to look for reasons to be proud of yourself. And that's
Yep.
a really good place to start in building, having the self-love meter fill a little bit more.
I love this so much. Yeah, I do a similar exercise with my clients that I got from a Benjamin Hardy book. Have you read any of his stuff?
No, I haven't.
Oh, he's one of my favorite authors. Be Your Future Self Now is one of my favorite books, and
Cool.
he's collaborated with another author. I'm blanking on his name right now, but one of the tricks is before you go to bed at night is to write down 3 wins you had today, and it doesn't have to be like major big things. It can be really like I made dinner for my family tonight. Like
Yeah.
I didn't yell at anybody at bedtime. And it can be silly stuff like that, but again, it's training your brain to see how much you've already gained that day instead of always coming from a place of how far I have to go, right?
Yeah.
A lot of
100%.
times in sobriety or trying to get alcohol free, it just feels like this never ending marathon of like deprivation. And I try to be like, it's one day at a time, but that's very cliche. And it's more that like all the self love, all the growth you're having, we need to celebrate those little baby steps that you're taking. And then you write down 3 wins you want to have tomorrow and no more than three, right? Because the idea that when we have more than three priorities, we have none. And so
Yeah.
you just pick 3 things that you want to accomplish. And it can be really like work related or it can be just like self-care related. But again,
Mm.
then your brain, when you go to bed, starts to work on those things. Like, how am I actually going to set up my day so that I can achieve these things? And you wake up in the morning and all of a sudden it's just kind of laid out for you a little bit more clear. Unless you have kids and one of them wakes up sick and the other one says, you know, like my morning where I'm like, I had a great plan for today, but I'm a mom and things come first. Yeah. So
Yeah.
one of the things I love about your work too is that you seem to focus so much on like the environment that
Mhm.
that people are placing themselves in. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So one, we can talk about the metabolic environment, like what's happening. If you picture a tree, right? There's an oak tree. The acorn is already programmed to be an oak tree. That thing's going to be an oak tree. That's it. Starts growing out of the ground. It's going to try its best to become the oak tree it's programmed to be. If I stick a bunch of obstacles in the way when it's a little seedling, it's going to bend and twist and curve and wrap around, and it's going to look like this weird sort of deformed oak tree that's really trying to be an oak tree, but we put a bunch of obstacles in the way. Your body wants to be a perfectly operating, optimally healthy machine that has plenty of excess energy. Your cognitive function is great, your libido is high, your body is lean, you feel good all the time. It's designed to be magnificent if you get out of the way.
Yeah.
So we're constantly having these external factors in the environment that are poisoning the system. This is why I start with food versus poison, but there's so many other things, right? It's like if you're drinking tap water and you're wearing polyester underwear and you have, the toxic personal care products and soap and cleaners in your home and all this stuff, there are so many, especially estrogenic compounds that mimic
Right.
estrogen in the body, what's called xenoestrogens, right? They're everywhere. So I have this concept called poison-free living that we talk about of just trying to help people understand if we get all of these disruptors out of the way, the metabolism is going to function perfectly. And I start with a food list. I have an improved foods list. It's got over 110 single ingredient, nutrient dense whole foods to choose from. It's a ton of variety. And people just go to Instagram, Justin Nault Official, and send me a DM. It's going to be me that answers you. I'll say, hey, you want the food list? Here you go. Boom. Just take a look at that food list. And we make it really simple because if you're getting the obstacles out of the way, you're really handling like 90% of the puzzle.
Right.
Yes, we can biohack, we can dig into fitness, we can say what macros are the perfect macros for fat loss and all these different things. We can get into that stuff, but we need to build the foundation of the pyramid first. And they're
Right.
like building that foundation. The reason we start with self-love is because then you get to a place where once you love yourself more, you'll just make better decisions for yourself. It no longer becomes, here's Justin, another nutritional therapist who tells me that I can't drink 10 Pepsis a day and my life sucks and this is terrible and blah, 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 blah. It
Right.
becomes, no, if I know that's poison and I love myself, I would never knowingly put that in my body because I don't
Yeah.
deserve that. I don't know. Do you use profanity in your podcast? I'm not sure, but
Yeah. Go for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
I
there's
do.
there's so much of this is the fuck it mentality,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing with dieting where you're trying to eat 1,100 calories a day, and then day 5 your lizard brain is like, I'm starving, and you eat the donut that someone brought in at work, and you say, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna do what I want for the whole weekend, and the weekend becomes this spiral where you're just drinking beers and eating pizza and wings and chips and stuff, and then I'll start again on Monday. And because you did that to yourself, now you have the shame and the guilt and all the stuff that comes along with you making those decisions, which makes Monday even harder. And then you repeat the cycle of starving yourself, not nourishing your cells. You
Right.
cannot compete with your body's survival mechanisms. This is
Right.
why starvation binge patterns happen because you
Yep.
can't overcome the body's desire to nourish itself. It's going to win every time.
Right. Yeah. What do you say to people who, I mean, I have been in this for a long time and not as long as you and not as detailed as you, but I'm also in school to become an integrative and functional nutrition practitioner. So I'm like thick into like the lab work right now, which is just
Yeah, yeah.
mind blowing and so cool. Um, but here, we're hitting this beginning of the year when a lot of people are kind of getting that motivation to be like, okay, this is my year. I'm going to try the thing. I'm going to try the diet. I'm going to get fit. But it just seems so overwhelming. It seems like when I hear you list off all of the things that are so toxic in our world and
Yeah.
how do they start? How do they start and actually believe that they can do it, that it's not going to be so overwhelming, that a week into it, they're all motivated and then it falls off.
Yeah. The way that I describe it is getting healthy should never suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's if you've been sedentary for 10 years and then you sign up for some, CrossFit boot camp at your local CrossFit gym, and the next thing you know, you're eating 1,500 calories a day, which is probably less than your BMR, and you're now doing a 90-minute CrossFit workout every day, that's gonna suck.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super painful. You're gonna be sore as hell. Your sleep's gonna be weird. You're gonna feel hungry all the time. You're setting yourself up for failure, right?
Right.
Which again is an act of self-loathing. It's
Right.
you're repeating a pattern on purpose. It's like, well, I always fail. Therefore, I will set myself up to fail so I can fulfill the internal story that I always fail because I suck. Right?
Wow. I want you to repeat that because I think that is the trap that we all are in. Like, I'm going to
Exactly.
fail at this. I'm going to make it so hard on myself. I'm going to
Yeah.
deprive myself, but I know I'm eventually going to fail. And I don't believe that it's possible for me to overcome the change that needs to happen.
That's when we know that we're dealing with low self-worth.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. And because the repeating pattern, right? It's like I actually use what's called Jungian depth psychology on my clients to help them reveal what they have been doing to themselves and see like there's a concept in our society called learned helplessness. It's like what all of us have been taught. Another reason for the health crisis in America is the illusion of authority. Most of us came through public school where there's someone at the front of the room and they know what's up. They are the rule makers and we have to listen to them. We have to raise our hand to go to the bathroom. We have to ignore our body until someone else tells us it's okay to do so, right?
Yeah.
So we have the lab coats and the credentials and all the things. And we've been told all along, like we're ignoring our body because the whole of this perceived authority of academia and medicine and everything is telling us, no, no, you're just a lazy slob. You eat too many calories. If you eat less calories, you'll be healthy. And you keep failing because you suck. Right? So we have to reprogram this thing. And then a guy like me comes along and I say, actually, I'm going to give you a foods list. You can eat as much as you want. Anytime you're hungry, you can eat as much as you want of the foods on this list. If you're
Right.
hungry, eat. And if in a couple of hours you're hungry again, eat again. And then step outside and take a leisurely walk for 10 minutes, get some sunshine on your skin. Try to go to bed a little bit earlier. Maybe don't do intense workouts because your body's healing because it's been traumatically damaged for the last 30 years, right?
Right.
I don't give anybody anything that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel good, I don't want to say you're doing it wrong because I don't think there's any wrong path. I actually don't believe in objective good, bad, right, or wrong as a philosophy, but it should feel good, right? If you're
Yeah.
doing something that is good for your body and your body's getting healthier, it shouldn't feel bad. Now, the ego hit of this is people are going to have to meet themselves where they are, right?
Hmm.
So you may want to be capable of going and doing a CrossFit workout when you've not done any exercise for the last 20 years. But
Yeah.
you're going to have to understand that a 10-minute walk is a stressor on your body where it's at. And
Yeah.
that's where we're going to start. And then it can be a 12-minute walk and a 20-minute walk and a 30-minute walk. And then you can go to the gym and we can teach you how to lift some weights. And I want you in and out of there in 20 minutes. I don't want you doing a 90-minute bodybuilding session because your body's not there yet. So
Yeah.
things that are metabolically beneficial for someone further along in their journey are actually harmful for people who are farther back on the journey that are just on step one.
Yeah.
So we prescribe this thing. It's like everyone do P90X, no
Yeah.
matter your fitness level.
Right.
Like do this. And you have these like shirtless 25-year-old bodybuilder trainers that are giving a 50-year-old woman with 4 kids at home and she's been sedentary for 30 years. He's giving her the same plan he's given his 25-year-old buddy with 6-pack abs.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Or that anybody's designing this through the lens of a woman's cycle and that it should be like ebbing and flowing according to, where she's at in her cycle. This is really good stuff because I think that overwhelming notion and the fear of failure holds so many people back from actually even starting,
Yeah.
like the mind just puts on the brakes beforehand, or they might just think about it and dip their toe in, but not like fully commit to the change. And how do you coach people through like setbacks and the inevitable slip ups that are going to be part of
Mhm.
the journey?
Yeah, great question. So the slip ups, it's if we go back to the P90X example, right? Like I've had so many women, one woman, Jenny, I'll tell you about, I did a podcast with her. She's amazing. She came to me because she was doing P90X 6 days a week. But it was one of these things where they give you the calendar and here's the days and you mark it off. And like she'd
I've
be
done it.
18 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be 18 days in. She misses 2 days because she goes on a work trip. So she comes back and starts back at day one. She's like, I've completely failed. This thing is gone. I have to
Yeah.
start and I have to get the 90 days perfect. It's like this obsession with the thing,
Yeah.
which is again a self-sabotaging failure pattern.
Yeah.
So I try to help people when I say meet yourselves where you are. Like when we do the daily mirror work, there's the I love yous. And then there are 5 things where we say, I'm so proud of you for 5 different things. And
Yeah.
then you say, I forgive you for 5 different things. And you say,
Yeah.
I commit to you that 5 different things. And what we're trying to do is find alignment between the things we say we're going to do and the things that we do. So again, if you've never worked out before and you say, I commit to you that I will do CrossFit 2-a-days every day for the next 30 days, this is a self-sabotage behavioral pattern. You're setting yourself up to fail because of a self-worth issue.
Yeah.
If you can get really real with yourself and have the self-awareness to say, I commit to you that every morning for the next 3 days, I'm going to start my day with a glass of water. And then on day 3, you drink that glass of water and you put your arms up and I did it. Amazing.
Yeah.
I commit to you that every day for the next 7 days, I'm going to have that same glass of water, right? And again, we start to just raise the meter up like a video game. The self-worth meter has to go up slowly but surely. So you have to find patience in the thing and understand that by meeting yourself where you are, it takes a big, courageous person to do this because you are forced to say, okay, I'm in a really bad spot right now. I'm 200 pounds overweight. I've not worked out in a decade and I've gotten myself here and I'm in a place where it feels a little silly to me, but my commitment that I can actually keep is a glass of water every morning for the next 3 days.
Hmm.
And owning that instead of saying, "Oh God, look at I'm so pathetic," right? You're saying,
Mhm.
"Yeah, that's where I'm at, and I'm going to do it." That's
Yep.
an act of self-love. So our computer is programmed with all of this evidence of failure.
Yep.
We have to reprogram the computer. And trying to go back and do the same thing over and over is the definition of insanity.
Yeah. Wow, there's some really beautiful gems in here. I think everybody should be taking notes. Tell us a little bit about your community at Clovis and how people can work with you.
Yeah, yeah. So the community started with me. I was selling my paleo powder. I now own two supplement companies. I own Clovis, and then I have a company called MedChoice that's on Amazon. And we have this beautiful community. And when I started doing the Facebook Lives, people started coming on, and I did something called just Ask Me Anything, the AMAs, right? I heard about that on Reddit or something. I'm like, I'll do an Ask Me Anything.
Mhm.
And that turned into one AMA a week for 115 weeks straight. And people were
Wow.
just coming on, and every week it was more and more and more and more people. And then, probably about 6 months into the AMAs, I made over 400 custom nutrition plans for free. I'd have people come in and I would just give them a 22-question health assessment that I designed myself. And based on that health assessment, I would give them a fully customized nutrition plan. And no two nutrition plans are alike because no two humans are alike.
Right.
And all that I ask is people just give me before and after pictures, 90 days.
Wow.
And that built the whole company. I mean, we have these outrageous before and afters. People went on, I don't know how many people have lost over 100 pounds. Now there are people with Clovis tattoos because the transformation was so profound. And part of it was this amazing community, this
Yeah.
amazing community of women. I don't know how this happened, but I have like the least toxic Facebook group in the history of the world.
Oh,
It's
wow.
just like nothing but support. These women went on to like start their own WhatsApp groups. People were driving across state lines to hang out with each other. We had all these like friendships being built, and then people were like, so another thing we can chat about is we have Clovis babies,
Oh,
and
wow.
Clovis babies are one of the main things I teach women in particular is the low energy availability crisis. So most women that are overweight are in a low energy state.
Mhm.
Now, the mainstream will say you have too much energy, energy balance, calories in, calories out. But all of their
Right.
symptoms are low energy. My hair's falling out. I'm cold all
Right.
the time. I don't sleep well. I have no libido. My mood's bad. I'm depressed. All this stuff. It's all low energy. So I've had many women come to me with anywhere from 1 to 3 failed IVF rounds
Right.
where they just were not able to get pregnant, even with, technological interventions. And then they come to Clovis and I teach them how much to eat. The only time I ever use macros or calories is when I'm giving you targets. These are not limits. I'm like,
Yeah.
you need to eat this much to be a fully nourished human being.
Right.
And then 8 months, 9 months, 10 months later, I get a Facebook message. Hey, we're pregnant naturally.
Wow. Oh,
And
I
then we get the baby bump pictures and then they announce it in the group. So we have all these, what I call Clovis babies is some of the things I'm most proud of is that and this beautiful community, just like really supportive moms. It's great.
Oh, I love the power of community. I do it with all of my group coaching as well. And there's just so much to be gleaned from surrounding yourself with people who are also doing what you're doing and you can learn from each other. I mean, that's why, you were talking about environments. It's so important to put yourself in the environment of alignment. And
Yeah.
if you're showing up in these same places and just hoping willpower is going to kick in and change your behavior and you're showing up in all the same places with the same people trying to be like, I'm going to abstain from the food. I'm going to abstain from the alcohol. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to, your environment shapes you. And that's why putting yourself in a community, getting a coach, hiring a mentor, having an accountability partner is so, so important. And so that's why if anybody's listening to this, like, I encourage you to go check out what he's doing at Clovis. Where else can they find you? And do you have any New Year's programs going on?
Yeah, so I mean, right now I have the metabolism reset method. So the metabolism reset method is continually running, and you can join at any time. So I actually like it. It feels a bit like Montessori school to me, where
Yeah.
there's no grades, right? So you may
Yeah.
come in on day one, and someone else is. So all my programs are 90 days, and then you can continue. I have clients that have been with me for over 4 years now, and that's because when we get the base of the pyramid in place, and they're nourishing themselves, and they have more energy, they feel better about themselves, and all these things then they come to me and say, "Man, I really hate this job, and I want to learn how to make some money online." So I actually teach entrepreneurs. I teach people to build social media followings. I've had people quit their jobs. I've had people leave abusive marriages. All of these things that they didn't have the energy to do
Yep.
before they got the foundation right.
Yep.
And this is all run off of the metabolism reset method, which is an initial 90-day program where we're resetting your metabolism. And it's really nice because if you come in on day one, there's going to be people in there that have been there for 6 months, that have been there for a year, or have been there for 60 days. and they're all together on the groups and they learn from each other. And in the WhatsApp group, there's messages in there every day.
Yeah.
And that's super easy. You just, I mean, I run everything through Instagram. It's very simple. If you go to my Instagram, Justin Nault Official, and DM me, ask me for the foods list, I'll send you the foods list. If you want the 40 slides meditation, I'll send you the 40 slides meditation. If you want my help, ask me questions. It will be me. It's not a member of my team. It's me chatting directly with you. And I'll tell you how to get involved in the programs. It's super easy.
That is very cool. I love that metabolism reset. And it's so similar to alcohol resets and the transformations that can happen.
Mhm.
Um, it's life changing. It's truly
Yes.
life changing when people. That's why it's so interesting that when people have success in this, they want to go on to teach other people how to do it. It's like they want to pay the gift forward. They want to spread the message and let that positive ripple effect spread out in all directions. And I see the same thing happen with alcohol. And for me, it's like alcohol was the first step. It's the first domino that had to go down. And then it was like it unlocked all of this other health transformation. And for women in particular, like working on just food as medicine is going to reset your hormone balance. It's like you don't have you're going to be killing 10 birds with one stone with the whole food eating, right? It's the helping that liver finally get back to doing what it's supposed to do and being able to detox everything out of your body. And next thing you know, your cycles regulate. That's why you have these Clovis babies. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so amazing. It's so powerful. And I hope this episode inspires everybody to go check this out because there's no shortage of New Year's programs out there to inspire you, but none so focused on the message of self-love and starting with that first. Because if you're not, if you're showing up with this self-sabotaging attitude that you're going to set yourself up for failure, which is what most New Year's programs do. I mean, there's evidence of that. What do they say? All New Year's programs last about 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks at best, and then they're
Absolutely.
back to drinking, back to eating whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I preach the same message.
I love it.
No deprivation, focus on nourishment and
Exactly.
empowerment. Empower yourself to get aligned with that future self that is thriving.
100%. I think that's so huge because the most common thing that I hear, period, across the board, is I've tried everything.
Yep.
And I have to help people see you've not tried everything. You've tried different labels for the same thing. It was keto or carnivore or paleo or whole 30 or boot camp or whatever. It's a different label for suffering, sacrifice, restriction, starvation, self
Right.
punishment. It's the same thing with a different package and a different bow.
Yeah.
The only thing you haven't tried is eating twice as much food and
Yeah.
making single ingredient, whole food, nutrient dense food choices, right? I teach people this. Food is, if it's actual food that belongs in your body, it's only good for you in any amount.
Right.
And poison is only bad for you in any amount. Because
Right.
if you're only eating food, it's near impossible to overeat because the way the chemicals react in your body, your hunger hormones and your satiety hormones, they work perfectly.
Yep.
So the only thing you haven't tried is not suffering.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you have to lose, you know?
Yeah. It's such a mindset shift and such a powerful one. And I am eager to learn more. I'm definitely going to go check it out myself and see how much more I can learn from you. So thank you, Justin. This has really been an insightful conversation, inspiring, and I hope everybody goes and checks you out. So at Justin Nault Official is your Instagram. Um,
Everywhere. Yep, that's the handle everywhere, basically.
yeah, and I want to check out your music. You create a
Yeah,
little curiosity loop there. Let's go hear you play guitar and piano. Is that what you said?
I play piano and sing. Yeah, if you
Oh,
guys go to YouTube, just type in Justin Nault Puppet.
okay.
That's probably my favorite because it's from my original album back in the day, but the Nashville Ballet actually choreographed it and their ballerinas are in the music video. It's very, very cool. So if you want to check
Oh,
out,
that's amazing. I
yeah, it's a
love
little time
that.
capsule that I love. I'm 25-year-old Justin bouncing around.
In the throes of his workout, intense
Yes.
regimen and ketogenic lifestyle. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I've really enjoyed speaking with you today and thanks so much for being here and I hope to have you on again.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Talk to you soon.
Cool.